Alrighty, what's up everybody? It's Ballet at Brand. We got the normal weekly live stream today. There's a lot of information to cover, right? So I didn't just do the clickbait the clickbait title just to get you guys in, but I also want to talk about with the Berlin fork and with the end stake function going up about 2.7 times. What can you do to remedy these fees? Is Uniswap the best exchange to be swapping from ETH to Hex or USDC to Hex? Is there something better like doing limit orders, possibly on Matcha.xyz? So a lot of those things I want to kind of cover and dive into today. We had Richard Hart do a 8-hour live stream just a few days ago, and that was really cool. I know the last stream, there was supposed to be a Richard Hart and Hexologist stream, but just didn't work out due to their schedules and getting busy. So I want to cover some of the information that Richard had covered on the 8-hour live stream. I mean, it was 8 hours, so there's kind of a lot of stuff that he threw out and that, could be possibilities. A lot of it was Pulsechain related, but let's start off with the price. The one thing that everyone cares about. No matter how much people say they're just in it for the technology, most of the people they're in it for the price as well, and they'd be lying to themselves if they didn't say that was partially true. So let me just say shout out real quick to a few of the people in the chat. Thank you for everyone joining. I wasn't on the most recent nights of the crypto table because Tuesday Tuesday at 7 o'clock is when we do our streams, and Richard had streamed I think it was at 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when he finally started streaming. So that went for 8 hours, and then 2 days later, I think it was Thursday, those guys did the Nights of the Roundtable. So I wasn't able to join them for that one, but back on to this upcoming Tuesday, I'll be there. So looking forward to that. Thank you for everyone that supports me there, supports all the other Hexicans. It's really cool to see. So Crypto Gains Club, hope you're doing well. Crypto 303 says, good to see you, mate, and thanks for all your top streams. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I like to do, right? And it's also something that I think a lot of us are kind of addicted to Hex, right? And so yeah, I'm constantly trying to stay up to date and finding about what's new, and to be able to share some of that information and bounce some ideas off with you guys and gals is cool as well. So Orion, Marcavelli, Hex World Dominance. Yeah, when people ask Richard what was his intention and what is his intention for Hex, it is to be a global reserve currency and to be the ultimate store of value. He talks about how houses have just become a price speculation for people to make a whole bunch of profit, as opposed to them just going back to a fair market value and to the cost of what they were worth. So the point is Hex itself is supposed to be the ultimate store of value, and with the way that its mechanism is designed to constantly be incentivizing people to stake and to stay in the system itself, I think it's doing a very good job, and that's with all of the gatekeeping that we've already seen. So we'll cover some of the pulse chain information, some of the Hex info. I think a lot of the things that people didn't really consider, but Richard had talked about recently, was that the gas fees would go up for the end stakes. So I looked at one of the end stakes the other day, and it was $220 to end the stake, and then to start a stake earlier before the stream, it was maybe $19 or even $16 at the low end. So the problem not necessarily is at the beginning of the stake. I mean, obviously, yeah, $16 to $20, maybe lower or higher depending on when you're staking. Obviously, that's something that's going to be a part of your cost factor that you want to think about. But the real reason I did the title and the real reason that I wanted people to kind of listen was for the end stake and for the length of time that you're staking for. Because with Pulsechain, you're going to get a duplicate copy. Richard mentions, and I've got some videos on my channel of Richard talking about, well, what if you have a piece of paper and you put it in a copier or a scanner, and it just replicates the same thing. And so he kind of talked about replicating the whole Ethereum blockchain for a huge, I guess, like airdrop from all of the ERC20 tokens. So that's some pretty interesting information that we can talk about. But let me say hi to the rest of the people. We got a lot of Hexicans in the chat. So, feel free to post any of your comments, your thoughts of what you got from it. The one thing that we do know in regards to the Pulsechain fork is Richard is still designing the game theory and dynamics of the token itself and of the fork itself. So he's mentioned that on t.me/pulsechain.com, you can give your input, and he's looking for input, like I said, to do the actual fork itself and to have certain parameters be kind of adjustable right now. So for any of the Hexicans that you want to contribute, just like a lot of the people did in Hex. I mean, that's how Richard came up with the 3.69% inflation. Was before Hex was even created. There was a whole bunch of people, speculating, oh, the inflation rate should be, 5% or 3%. And so you can have that same experience with the Pulsechain fork. And I think what a great opportunity to have. Because I know there's a lot of deep thinkers in Hex and just in the crypto space alone. And Richard mentions that Pulsechain will most likely have people that didn't join Hex, but will join Pulse due to it not just being solely focused on Hex. It's going to be a less gate-kept project is the idea. And so that's pretty cool. So yeah, Peter Danis, 87, good to see you. Crypto Ewok, what's up, Ran? Hey. Finn Bear, nice to see you. I know you got in a call with Richard. That was really cool. I liked it. Yeah, that must be a surreal experience. I had joined the voice chat as well, but unless I have like a question that's just really on my mind and that I want to ask, generally I'll just want other people to go ahead first because their questions are probably better than what I can think of currently. So yeah, Richard had an 8-hour-long live stream where on the t.me/hexcrypto, the voice chat, he opened it up for calls. So similar to what people are doing similar to what people are doing with like the audio calls and kind of live calls. Richard did that for the first time, and that was a pretty good experience. Bags Full, I like that name. We're also going to address in like just a minute here this shirt and how it's relevant to the market right now. Because last week I think we were up like 6%, something like that. And in this week from the last stream at this time, we're down a little bit. So want to talk about how that can be an opportunity, right? A lot of people, they do the opposite of what's the best strategy. So if you're in something that's got product market fit and that is going to sustain, some people they'll sell when it dips and they'll buy like the major pumps, and so they'll become the wicks of the pumps and they'll become the wick of the sell. And if you can learn to put your emotions aside and kind of just think logically about the investment decision you're doing, then I think that that'll help everyone not make irrational decisions. Mama Rock, hey Valiette, good to see you, Mama Rock. Hope you're doing well. Let's see, Bitfinesse. People selling their original Hex or waiting for Pulse to start staking will likely miss out on many more benefits down the road, like BTC holders who sold and missed airdrops forever. Patience. Yeah, I mean, I agree, Bitfinesse. Here's the thing. I mean, I personally don't mind having like a couple percent of Hex liquid and kind of just having, I don't know, I guess like you would with like dollar or like fiat reserves, have a little bit more than what you need in case, another bill comes up and things like that. But I also do agree when you're holding Hex just liquid, then yeah, technically you're being devalued by that 3.69% annual inflation rate and by people that have stakes and have shares. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because even people like or even entities or people like the origin address itself, like it's content to stay liquid to allow other people to earn that extra yield and earn that extra interest. But not necessarily does like everything have to be staked out for say like Cuatro Cinco or a super long time. I mean, I think if I was doing any stakes right now, the minimum I would do and the minimum that if I had friends that were doing it, that I would probably tell them would be like, don't do anything less than a year, because depending on the amount you're doing and depending on how much you're staking, the fees and whatnot can kind of really eat into the profit of the stake. I've heard a lot of people mention that they didn't really expect with this fork. So with something going up 2.7x, that's a lot, especially with the fees that they were already talking about were high in the first place. So yeah, we'll talk about the dip. We'll talk about some other things real quick. Matty Crypto, what's shaking, party people? Not much. Pat McCarthy, remain calm and Hexon. Yeah, I mean, if you can realize, like I said, that like cryptocurrency itself is the highest appreciating asset class in the world, and then you've got things like Bitcoin that did over 6 million X, and things like Hex that are just getting started. It really is like the long-term game. The old strategies of even the stock market and of other investing strategies, they don't necessarily work with crypto per se. Dan, hey, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Let's make sure he's all modded up there. Yeah, hope you're doing well. 1 second here, let me address. Okay, he's good there. He says the long-term mentality will outperform any in and out selling. Yeah, that's exactly right. When people are on ERC20 tokens, yeah, especially if you're using things like Uniswap. I know things like Matcha.xyz from, I've actually never used it, so I need to do a couple limit orders, but from some of the people that I know that buy Hex on a consistent basis, they like the Matcha.xyz for doing limit orders and for not necessarily paying a whole bunch of fees from what they've told me. So there's a couple different options when it comes to accumulating in that regard, but Dan is completely right. And Richard kind of talks about this too, that with Bitcoin, technically you could time lock it, but you wouldn't be getting a yield in the first place. And just people in general weren't necessarily incentivized to just time lock it. But with Hex, you can, and with Hex, it does pay you an interest. And to his point that the long-term mentality itself will outperform anything. With Bitcoin, even from 2017 to now, Bitcoin has gone up. If you had like the time horizon of 3 years or longer, you would have been in the profit even if you had bought like the top. So I think that's really cool. He says, I may be driving Uber and Lyft now, but look at my grind. I'm going to be around a lot longer than the Furus on Twitter. Yeah, Dan, I've seen it, and yeah, you know, yeah, keep up the work and the grind itself. And I mean, like you mentioned, if you're trading day to day and you've got these other things going on, most likely it's not going to be as profitable as just buying and holding, or buying and holding and staking and earning an interest on top of that. And yeah, that's really good advice, man. And yeah, we'll definitely all get there together, man. We'll I mean, a lot of people they see other coins pumping, right? Like Doge pumped a whole bunch, and some of these other altcoins pumped, and some people they look at those coins that are pumping, and like I said, their mentality is a little bit off. They see the thing that's pumping, that's already pumped 2,000% in a week, and they want to jump in then, as opposed to the thing that's kind of just like sideways back and forth, that's getting set up for the pump. So I see it a lot, and especially the other day on Friday, I went out to dinner with my brothers, and the waiter and one of my brothers was talking about Dogecoin and the gains and whatnot. And anyways, if you can spot opportunities like that before a major pump, then you're not going to be as likely to buy a top and sell a bottom or get wrecked, right? That is kind of the trader's mentality that a lot of people have, and a lot of people got wrecked on in 2017 and Anderson previous dips. Right on, Maddie. Mount Coiner says, I thought I'd seen it all. I've seen some bad projects in my day, but now I realize again just how great Hex is. Google World Crypto Life, most disgusting thing in crypto. Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, I haven't seen any shortage of cringe or kind of just shills and kind of stuff like that in crypto, right? In bull markets, everyone tends to just everyone with the camera tends to just run out and talk about the top coins that pump that week, as opposed to kind of like fundamentals and how you can actually not be the herd, right? And that's why I like people like Crypto Coffee, Dollar Cost Crypto, and I think Cultivate Crypto and him had like a course that they did. And one of the peoples that took their course, in the course they talked about projects that you might want to be able to research. And I guess Hex was one of them, because one of the people that took that course called into Richard's most recent stream and was like, hey, they said you might want to research Hex. I did my own research, and holy moly, like I know talent when I see it, and I know good fundamentals when I see it, and good code. So that was really cool to see. I mean, especially as you have kind of just more sustainability and more 100% uptime, while these other things are getting wrecked and hacked and whatnot. I think people are being more convinced that the gatekeeping was necessarily not the best decision to listen to. Dan says, everyone in just about every single crypto has regretted selling anything under $1. That's exactly right. And like I was saying earlier, yeah, like you mentioned, crypto is the highest appreciating asset, just in general, the asset class in general. And so you gotta treat it like that, and you gotta kind of think of it like that. That, hey, what are my bills? Okay, I'm probably paying for my bills and spending my bills in fiat, and so there's certain things that kind of have their utility, right? The dollar has its purpose for paying your bills, but then the crypto, especially since going through a bear market, I realized, okay, like this is kind of like the savings account, and things like Hex that pay you an interest. You don't want to be, like Big Pep says, you don't want to be killing the golden goose that's laying that egg. You want those golden eggs to keep coming. So he's totally right, and Richard mentioned it too, that where anyone that's ever sold crypto to buy a Lamborghini, a big watch or something that they probably couldn't afford otherwise, right? But was kind of just a splurge. Stuff like that is what Richard mentioned, that when the crypto does a 5x or a 10x can really be, sour to the stomach if you're kind of just splurging anyways. But everyone has their own different investment strategies, and I think a lot of people can learn from our mistakes and from our successes, as opposed to having to make them themselves. So Dan Emmons says, also, God bless you for getting in and out and trying to time every up and down wave in the markets. But the more likely scenario is being left behind on dips rather than timing buys. Yeah, I mean, Richard's mentioned it a lot, where he even had a friend, like a nuclear physicist friend or some sort of friend that was really smart, right, with the numbers that said like not to buy like Amazon, Google, Tesla. And so Richard's like, even though he was smart in this category, doesn't necessarily mean he was smart in the trading category. And anyways, that's definitely true. I mean, everyone's a genius in a bull market, quote unquote. But then when like just like in 2017, I remember similar sentiment where everyone's talking about their altcoin of the week, and then it can really change in a short amount of time what altcoins and what projects and products really have sustainability through those bear markets. So that's it's important to have stuff that's going to do well in that kind of environment, and that's less correlated. Hex softball, the stakers will get a lot of bleeding. Yes, that's the one thing I want to talk about. Interest from now on until Pulsechain is stood up. Yeah, so Richard talks about Pulsechain and talks about that most likely what we'll see is a copy of the liquid Hex and the stakes on the Pulsechain itself. And then, but the thing is yeah, right now there's a lot of people that have stakes that maybe were short time framed, or they didn't realize how impactful the Berlin fork was going to be. And so there's kind of a difference of like, okay, should I just let this, if you have a stake that's worth like $50, $100, whatever, then it doesn't make sense to spend all this gas in ending the stake as opposed to just buying. So say if the end stake is going to be like $220 for like a $300 stake, then it's like, well, maybe I'll just spend that $300 on new Hex and keep it liquid or stake it longer, things like that. Because yeah, ETH miners pretty much are like middlemen, which Richard kind of talks about, and that's one thing I'm excited for the Pulsechain is, I mean, when Hex first came out, yeah, fees for MetaMask transactions and Ethereum gas fees were like a penny, even to end the stakes. Like I remember, like the first week-long stake that I did was like 1 or 2 pennies to end, and so you got to kind of update your worldview as the other parameters change. So shout out to Richard for doing the fork because it's going to be good. Nuzdarov says, "Hey, Ballet brand, looking good and fresh," and that's a good cue to get into the price chart itself, right? Because buy the dip is where this is what the shirt says, and where you can get it is just actually in the description below. There's like Crypto Styles USA on Amazon that you can just search that name, or you can just click the links below, and there's a few different shirts, which is where I got these. But let's actually go into the price chart, right? The thing that a lot of people care about and that a lot of people, look at. Okay. So, I mean, this is just a daily, logarithmic, keep that on, and then version 2 just for the most recent. But so we're sitting at 1.72 pennies. And if I even let me just make sure you guys can all see. Perfect. And let me get that out of there. So if you kind of just do like a little candle measure from last week, say, you kind of bought where that day closed and to kind of where we're at now, we're down about like 12.18%. And like I said, that's just if you are really looking at the short-term basis. When you really zoom out and you really look at the longer time frames, this is just the daily, but you can go to probably like the weekly is where you might want to be fixating more on. You can just kind of see how much coiling and how much upward price momentum Hex has had, even with the fork and some of these other things that there's not constant, but yeah, there's always buyers and sellers, and you see it on the Hex bot. But you definitely see sell pressure from people that got their free claims from the Bitcoin free claims, or just people that did year-long stakes. And so the cool thing is with Hex's liquidity and with where we're at now, we're actually really consolidating very well from what I see, and that's really cool to see that it is kind of like the perfect liquidity that Richard talks about, the minimum viable liquidity. So that's where that's looking at right now. But to Softball's point is that, yeah, when we can go to another chain and we can have our Hex on another chain that are a little bit cheaper, then yes, you can do the shorter term stakes, and you can do that without the fear of the network getting so congested that now it's hundreds of dollar fees again too. So there's definitely different strategies for it, right? The ETH Hex will always stay a thing, and it'll always be something. But as far as where the value goes, and after the fork, and where people's staking strategies go, I think it'll kind of depend on what chain they're on. Machiavelli 23, gas fees is straight thievery. And to his point there, Richard has a tweet that I want to cover. Okay. So Richard, he changed his username too. So Richard Hart is forking ETH. And then it says Hex.com, 40% APR, 448x in 456 days. But this tweet I pinned, and I wanted to talk about it. So Ethereum bros, are you wondering why everything on Ethereum is so much more expensive than normal? Partly because Vitalik Buterin and this guy, not even going to try and pronounce that, MH Swendy, something like that. But anyways, wrote a proposal to increase the cost of reading from disk 2.7x. And so it talks about EIP 2929 deployed yesterday. So it deployed April 15th. So just about 3 days ago. But yeah, this is definitely important to look at. Richard kind of talks about some more stuff here, but he mentioned that as far as even before Hex came out, they raised the fees. So the stakes initially were going to be a 50-year max length stake, and then it went from 50 to 15. But so Sammy, we got a whole bunch of people in here. But so the point is that when the Ethereum network is constantly doing their quote unquote proposals that end up screwing actual products and products that need products and projects that need to like read and use that disk space, then it's not really like that decentralized computer that Richard talks about, Vitalik mentioning. I mean, when actual contracts are breaking overnight due to these changes, then maybe it wasn't necessary. Okay. Let's go over some comments here. Yeah, so Nozdorov, thank you very much. Don't panic. Hey, good to see you, man. I know you had a kind of like a friendly debate with some guy the other day. I think you did a very good job kind of describing it to him, and would love to have you on sometime. He says, how is the most wonderful community in crypto? Hey, doing great. The weather's beautiful today. Might have to get out and do something after this, but yeah, doing good. Hope you're doing well too. Hex Softball, how many other ERC20s are going through the gas wars? A lot. Yeah, I know even the people that are just using like Uniswap, if you look at like the gas guzzlers or kind of like the things that are congesting the network and using a lot of gas currently, a lot of them are like Uniswap and things like that, or even like stable coins and whatnot. But it's definitely something that's not just affecting Hexicans. And that's why I think when Richard talks about possibly all of the ERC20 tokens getting the equivalent of that ERC20 token versus Pulse, I think that's quite the interesting concept, because Richard kind of talks about the meme of like Moses, like the Bible of like Moses freeing the people and stuff like that. And so there's kind of like a couple memes that maybe if I can pull them up, we'll do it live too. But of Richard like freeing the people, the other ERC20 tokens from the gas fees. So thought that was pretty good. And shout out actually to El Hexidente, because he did one of the renditions, and then there was a couple other ones in the Hex memes. Okay, Mount Coiner says, okay, yeah. I mean, that's definitely one thing, like I said, that exists in crypto, just the never-ending MLMs and shady. I mean, when you have projects that are the founders and whatnot, or the people don't necessarily show their face and are kind of hiding behind avatars, stuff like that is definitely sketchy. And yeah, as far as cryptocurrency goes, I mean, no wonder people want it to be like so rife with regulation, because so many people were buying BitConnect in 2017 and were buying these things that were just blatant scams. So it's definitely something that Richard mentioned, like it's got people that, some people like that have the good intentions, they honestly kind of like get outweighed by the people that want to take advantage of that industry and of that opportunity. Just like with the internet too, when it kind of came out with the tech stocks and stuff like that. Let's see. Okay, Matty Crypto says, hell yeah, Machiavelli 23, it's out of control. I tried to unstake one, so worth about $600, and it was over $300 to end stake it. I'd kick a miner in the squirrel if I could. That's funny. I've never heard of that phrase. I'd kick a miner in the squirrel. That's funny. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of gross to think that people like Richard mentioned, Vitalik and the other guy, the Swendy guy, the name that's hard to pronounce, that they can just vote on something like that for the gas function to go up, because, or sorry, not the gas, but the S load, because that's just pretty interesting to see how quick that change can be made. Hey, Luis Hex. Hey, Viva Ballet Brand. Hey, yeah, Viva Luis. I'll definitely see you in Vegas. That'll be a good time. Thanks for all the work. Machiavelli 23. Let's exactly. Let's see. Luis, smash the like button. Dan Emmons, Godwell is coming. Yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, I think it was the Godwell around this time last year of 2020 when we did have the big April pump. I think it was the Godwell that bought like 10,000 ETH worth. And yeah, I mean, we could definitely, as I've kind of speculated in the past, we could definitely be setting up to do something similar again, right? We see kind of Hex consolidating upwards, but we see a lot of these other projects and even Bitcoin kind of going down a little bit, and other altcoins, it seems like it's going to be all season maybe, but things like Hex definitely are going to have its big pumps as well. Because yeah, if we just share the screen, and if we look at just version 1 for those that were there, so Uniswap version 2 I've mentioned before plenty of times, but Uniswap version 2 is for like current liquidity, and then version 1 is for like historic price chart. So it goes all the way from December 9th, and Hex was launched December 2nd, so it's missing about a week worth of data, but this is pretty much good enough here. So yeah, you can see, as I was mentioning earlier, that right here, April 6th, April 13th, this is the weekly chart. So maybe if I just go to the daily, but that was where Hex had its last major pump that we just never went back to. And I don't think we'll ever go into those kind of prices again. But let's see. See, it's kind of tough when you zoom out because you don't get all of it. But yeah, so this is that big pump, like I mentioned, that we never went back from, and that Dan's kind of alluding to about the God whale. And even just in a few day span, 23 days, almost 8.5x, like that's pretty damn good. And consolidated through the big payday, and then now it looks like we're going to do another major breakout, and that's always really cool to see. Not just the fundamentals of Hex and of the community, but everything else kind of just seems to be working perfectly. And then especially with the duplication on Pulsechain, like that's going to be really good too. All right. Ben Fev says, buy Hex, don't be poor. Hex Softball says, the gas fees make the good accounting feature too expensive to use now as well. Stay strong. Have fun staking more. Yeah, Dan, and see, that's one of the things. I was listening to a Big Pep stream earlier today, and he was talking about, that some of us, and myself included, kind of just had some stakes that you kind of just like very speculative, right? Oh, 10,000 Hex here or wherever there for small quantities and small lengths. And so those are kind of just bleeding, right? But for any of the stakes that might be like ending, what I've learned to do is just like consolidate, because why pay a whole bunch of gas fees as opposed to just say one gas fee every year or every, twice a year, biannually. So that's kind of what I'm learning, and what I've learned from my mistakes and other people that have said it as well, that like, maybe consolidating and treating it like an actual CD might be a little bit better than spreading a little bit too thin via laddering too thin. So that's definitely one thing to consider. John Claude just invested in Hex. Hey, that's awesome. Let's see. Dan says, let me scroll down just a smidge. Man, you guys are chatting up the storm. Thanks for everyone that's here. I haven't even done the intro yet. But Dan says, Dan Emmons says, how come nobody screams, but where does the ETH go when paying exorbitant transaction fees just to send your own money between your own wallets? Dan, I completely agree. Richard mentioned in his most recent stream, and someone also said, like, man, Richard he just seemed disgusted when he was talking about the fees, and I agree, right? Because and it still is, right? Still is the virtual machine and kind of thing that has a lot of economic energy and has big Ethereum whales and whatnot. But when you're paying a whole bunch of fees, to his point, to a middleman and to someone that's just going to dump the price, then that sucks to pay $300 fees or $220 gas fees to end your stake, even on the low end. So Richard mentioned that right now, and I would guess that it's gone up because of the Berlin fork, but before the fork, it was like $15,000 to $25,000 US dollars a day were being spent on these fees. So when you think of that kind of economic mass, that could be going into Hex and could be saving people, as opposed to going to someone that's going to just sell, then yeah, that is kind of it sucks to say the least. So thanks for Richard for constantly implementing solutions, right? So he had mentioned that retired in 2003, 6 years before Bitcoin came out, did real well with Bitcoin, didn't even have to do Hex, but did Hex because of all the problems he was seeing with Bitcoin. And then now he's building something for Hex to go on to because of the problems with Ethereum. Like that's amazing that Richard is constantly about the legacy and trying to help other people and does have a big heart, right? So shout out to Richard. Let's see. John Claude doing the splits on those 2 semi-trucks was insane. He's a legend. He should be in Hex. Didn't know about that, but that's interesting. I mean, any guy that can do the splits is quite flexible, so that's cool. Nestorov says, those who bought Hex for 2 cents like a month ago and staked for 10 to 15 years didn't lose money with interest they're getting. So 1.7 cents now for them is still a 2-cent investment. Yeah. GraphX.rocks has a really good, and I can actually just show you real quick, has a really good visual for like what the staked Hex would be worth. Because obviously when you're looking at just the liquid Hex versus the stake, there's the difference in interest. So let's share that real quick here. Yeah, so just and I guess it went to apphex.win, but yeah, let's go back to cool. Oh, okay, I guess it does. So I guess it switches now to apphex.win/charts. So I know they have multiple sites that they run. But anyway, so yeah, here you can kind of see, okay, 1 T-share, if you stake it for like 1 day, the spot value is like $300.95. It's going to cost you 17,186 Hex to get that T-share. But so let's see. You know what? It's actually not here in this most recent update, but there was a purple pink line before that showed kind of like what the stake value was. So looks like they might just be doing some website editing. But so yeah, I guess we'll just go off that for a second. But yeah, to Nozorov's point, the whole intention of this specific investment is to kind of treat it like a CD or like a 401k, like Tanto Nomini mentions. Treat it like a savings account and maybe a longer term time horizon, even longer than the average, will do you significantly better than most. Sammy Guns, remember me from Radio Shack? Okay. Okay. Yeah, did you see the dip in the market? Yeah, the market definitely dipped. I mean, Richard actually posted a parabola that we can show in just a second. But without further ado, we're like 38 minutes in. Let me run that intro real quick, like my 90-second normal intro, and I'll be back.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like. Be sure to share. Be sure to comment. Yeah. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Motherfucking jackpot. We still jackpot, bitch!
Thank you, Richard, for creating and founding the most amazing and disruptive financial technology cryptocurrency ever. Thank you, sir. And nice streams Mr. Balliet Brand.
Cool. So yeah, good little break to get a sip of water, and also for the intro to go on too. So shout out to Joe Hexotic for doing that. Hope you're doing well, Joe. I miss your live streams, but know that you're busy. And in the meantime, you can always go to Joe Hexotic, his old videos and his old streams, and he's got a lot of like more like intimate kind of personal, live streams with people that are in the Hexican ecosystem. And it's really cool to hear about people, not only their success stories, but also their failures too. So, yeah, Sammy, definitely not. But yeah, let's quiet down. Let's see. Don't panic. Any info on how the S load cost increase has affected other smart contracts? I mean, honestly, I haven't really looked a whole bunch. I know I've seen a couple of people mention that, yeah, it's not just Hexicans that are getting affected by that gas price increase, but it's other people as well. But to answer your question, not specifically that I've seen. Hey, Marco the Hexican, hope you're doing well. Yeah, NFT rug pull. Yeah, I mean, when Richard kind of talks about people for doing NFTs, especially for doing it like on Ethereum, to be paying that kind of price just to have what's like a million other people have, and then to expect that other people are going to bid on that is probably not the best investment decision. But Richard kind of mentions that, yeah, I mean, NFTs for buying are terrible, but if you happen to be selling them and then putting it into things like Hex, then I don't see how that's necessarily bad. But yeah, you definitely don't want to just be spending your money on anything, right? And when you look at, I mean, sure, there's like underlying technology that can be used, but most people are just kind of degenerately gambling on JPEGs, hoping that like the greater fool will buy the next one, and eventually that engine stops running and someone ends up buying the top of that market like they did in 2017. Hey HexMac, hope you're doing well. Naga Bow Funky. Yeah, a lot of the Hexicans have quite the personalities, and yeah, Naga's always got quite the good personality, and definitely entertaining to say the least. Like having him as a Hexican, and yeah, he's got a most recent stream too, talking about that, similar to what I'm saying, that hey, when the other coins in the markets are pumping, you shouldn't be chasing them. You should be, most likely you should be in other things that'll have their day and that'll have sustainability, as opposed to just go into your favorite coin market cap website and betting on the horses like that. It's not the best strategy. So it's cool to have Naga switch from the altcoins that he was in to Hex and kind of consolidate, because a lot of people that finally understand the concept of it and realize that there's nothing else that pays you that kind of yield, a lot of the people are kind of switching over. Love the intro. Naga's a legend. Yeah, totally. Naga's great. T-Bird Hex. Hex be slicing and dicing. Totally. Okay, yeah, Blue Bum. I didn't know that he started streaming until last night when Hex streamers had shouted him out on the live stream. But yeah, Blue Bum did a live stream yesterday with Tanto Nomini. Let me just see if I can't find it real quick. I thought it was a really good video. But yeah, him, Sammy Chica, and Tanto Nomini, they did a live stream, and same thing with that guy. He's some sort of developer and has a lot more like technical knowledge and details, and he did a really good job kind of explaining what's going on and kind of speculating what could happen with Pulse and maybe some of the ways to approach it. So people like him and people like you that might be watching, one of the 56 people that are watching, you might want to go into t.me/Pulsechain.com and kind of contribute, because Richard's definitely looking for ideas. So yeah, that's the. I just posted the link real quick for Blue Bum's live stream. So go follow him. Another Hexican from down under, and I know him and Unracked have done a lot of streams with the Aussie crowd, but now he's got his own channel. So go follow him if you haven't already. Otto Mador, California says, ETH fees. Richard Hart did recommend large and long stakes. Do buy Ethereum dip or keep Ethereum on hand. Bran, what percent approximately is your hex bag? So as far as Ethereum goes, is that your question? What percent of my? Because yeah, I mean, as far as I don't know, as far as Ethereum goes, like here's the thing: a lot of my stakes are set, right? They're just maturing and they're doing their thing. So I don't really have many more new stakes that I'm doing currently. Maybe once every other year or something like that, I'll start adding on to stakes. But yeah, long and strong is the way that Richard's always talked about Hex being designed optimally for. I'm not sure if he's asking about what percent is in Ethereum, but honestly, it's like less than 1%. It's like just enough to end any of the stakes that I did that were shorter term, and then to consolidate them into longer term stakes. And then, yeah, I really don't keep much Ethereum. BMA, hey, good to see you, man. I know we chatted the other day. It'll be cool to see you in Vegas. And yeah, like I said, go subscribe to Blue Bum if you haven't already, because shout out to Hex Streamers. He's the one that has like a bot, or maybe it's just him that's just going super hard on that. But shout out to him. So yeah, I guess Hexo is going to be going live in like 13 minutes. So I mean, I don't really need to go much longer for that. So I guess we can just raid him. Let me just put an alarm real quick here on my phone, because I don't want to stream over Hexo. And like I said, the next stream we can cover more on the Knights of the Crypto Table and the next weekend itself. But it sounds like this will be a little bit shorter of a live stream. And yeah, we'll go over to Hexo and support his channel. Thanks for the info. Yeah, man. I mean, thank you for always coming out. Dan Emmons says the most optimal way of outperforming the average trader in Hex is to forget that you even have Hex. Even after stakes mature, restake. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's one of those things that Richard kind of talks about it with, I forget who the other guy was, but about like gambling mentalities and how people sometimes it's just like never enough, right? They'll keep trading and keep playing with what they have, thinking that they're just going to continue multiplying it and do better than just buying and holding. But I agree, man. That is definitely one of the best things you can do. I mean, Richard talks about like if you had bought Bitcoin early, kind of had like a coma or fell asleep for like 10 or 11 years and just did nothing, then obviously you'd be up on significant gains. But the problem that most people have is treating every single pump and whatnot as kind of like a trader mentality that you can sell into. And when crypto is in a uptrend and bull market, it tends to go parabolically high. So yeah, that's definitely a good point. I mean, if you look at the average staker, it's like 5.5 years. And so that goes to show you where the average person in Hex is kind of thinking. This isn't super short term. And if you want to do short term, that's fine, right? But my only thing that I would be doing if I were to do a stake within the next year, I would stake it for at least a year, just so you can at least have the interest outweigh the gas cost and the time, the inflation, things like that. Hex Softball says, do you believe the market will eventually deem Pulse as the chain with more value than Ethereum? I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible. I do believe that, to answer your question. We saw Hex, trying to retweet Hexologist. Let me just retweet him real quick. So yeah, we saw Hex in less than a year become top 5. And I mean, that's just in regards to market cap, right? But it goes to show you that with things like what Richard's doing, and you're building a better product than what people are using right now, it's definitely something that the market will have to choose, like any any good thing should work. Let the free market decide what's going to have the value. But I think when people realize that, minting NFTs on this version, on the Pulse version, is going to be cheaper, and doing your normal transactions and transfers and stakes are going to be cheaper. And I think people will eventually probably transition over to Pulse. I mean, I know I probably will. I know Richard kind of mentions that if you go all in one or the other, whether it's ETH Hex or Hex Pulse, Pulse Hex, then if you chose the wrong one, you'd be sorry. But I don't see how people could continue just being okay with giving a lot of their hard-earned effort and money to the ETH miners. So cheaper fees are always better if you can have something that's more faster and more secure, can do different things. I know Richard's really excited about the just the implementation of the fork that he's running. I think it's pretty cool. Thomas Fatherby says, Bran, thanks for your community support. You're doing great. Keep on going. I have a few small stakes, like 2,000 Hex. Should I let them bleed out? Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say what you shouldn't do, but I'll just say that I've got a couple of stakes that are in that range, and yeah, I'm just letting mine bleed out, because when you think that if the math is that, okay, the cost to pay the end stake is going to be more expensive than the Hex that you're getting, then it doesn't necessarily make sense to just mint the Hex if you could have just bought Hex for cheaper as opposed to the gas fee, right? So I'm personally letting a lot of those smaller ones that were just more speculative anyways, I'm just personally letting a lot of them bleed, which is another kind of like hidden pumpamental, as strange as it is, and even though none of us expected it, it is kind of like a pumpamental that, some of that bleed out goes to the stakers, and if you've got longer stakes, then you got to also think that, it's not like it's just completely getting bled out, right? Because you're still earning some interest on those longer stakes as well. So, but it's definitely a lesson to learn, right? I don't think we'll have those problems necessarily on Pulsechain, but I think it'll definitely be something that's going to be an ongoing problem with Ethereum for the meantime. I don't see those changing anytime soon, personally. Biffines, in crypto, doing nothing is the hard work. He's totally right. It is the hard work, right? Waiting brings the mad gains. It's true, and that's why I really like Hex, because it saves you from yourself. There's a lot of people that were talking with Richard, or I've even just heard them talk in general, that, man, with the gains that I've had, if I had all of my Hex liquid, I would have sold it all by now. And yeah, Richard kind of talks about, like, you are saving yourself from yourself, which usually is the case most of the times, right? It usually is ourselves that can get caught up in short-term decisions and can get caught up in emotions or FUD and stuff like that, and can lead to very volatile decisions. So yeah, waiting brings the mad gains. It's definitely true. I mean, Berkshire Hathaway didn't go to like $300 a share overnight, but if you would have bought and held, you would have done pretty damn good as well. And same thing with Tesla stock. Tesla did pretty darn good too. Hexopal says, right, the additional benefits on Pulse will gain market share, but not total saturation. Yeah, Richard kind of talks about that too, that, yeah, I mean, if you do get a total saturation, there would have to be other implementations done to not have the same problem that Ethereum had with the fees. So it's definitely going to be a work in progress, right? He also mentioned that as far as an audit goes, you can't necessarily, Hex was launched and completed and audited before launch, but with Ethereum, it's just so much lines of code and so much, information that hasn't been audited for, that it would take, a lot of money to do it, or it would take a portion of the hard fork being audited, but it's just going to be different than Hex, and we gotta let Richard do his thing. But in the meantime, hey, if you got any advice or got any like game theory things that you want to add to, go to t.me/PulseChainCom, and Richard can take the advice or listen to what you're speculating on. So yeah, we'll definitely switch over when when Hexo does go live, I'll put my phone on vibrate so I can hopefully listen out for when he goes live. Yeah, because I got about 5.5 minutes. Dan Emmons, I'm dead serious about this. If you have a means of making money that you need to live on, it takes pressure off you to be liquidating crypto and just let time do its thing while the Fed goes burr. I completely agree. Richard talks about full-time crypto not being the smartest idea and decision because what you're becoming is a net seller. And can't answer that phone call right now. So what you're becoming is a net seller in that regard. And yeah, ideally, if you can have a job or some sort of source of income that's separate from your crypto, then yeah, you're not constantly having to, like you mentioned, sell or liquidate your crypto. That can just continue going up and up and go up, multiple millions of X and hundreds of thousands. So it's definitely something to consider, right? Wouldn't want to do the same things that other people did and know that you could learn from them. Let's see. Cal says, thanks for keeping it real, bro. Hope to see you in Vegas. Yeah, I'll definitely be there. So if anyone wants to hang out, just hit me up on t.me/Ballyatbrand or the Hex Vegas thing and we can hang out. Let me scroll up. Thanks for your time. It's always good to catch your stream. Hey, thank you. I'll be ending it early because Hexo is going to go. But we'll definitely cover anything that I didn't get to on the crypto roundtable. Crypto Ewok says, he also said all the bug bounties over the years have fixed most of the problems. Yeah, that's one thing that's so surprising that Ethereum has done successfully with the bug bounty program, and then Bitcoin doesn't have it. And it's like, okay, so now its bounty for Bitcoin is like minting as many Bitcoin as you want. Well, that doesn't seem like it's the best for the longevity of the network. And especially when you realize in 2017 someone could have printed as much Bitcoin as they wanted. That's definitely something to consider. So yeah, Hexo's live. We'll go raid him in just a minute real quick here. Thomas Father B says, let's see, can you imagine some kind of community charity, like maybe the origin address could do good accounting on our stakes that are bleeding out? Imagine how supportive that'd be. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing about the product itself and the origin address is no one really knows what it's going to do. T-Share Master. Hey, Bran, will it be better holding ETH versus USDC during the Pulse snapshot? That's a damn good question. That's a damn good question. I mean, I know Richard talks about some of the concepts of the fork being like a direct copy, but he also mentions like, well, what does that mean for the stable coins? And honestly, I've got no idea. My guess would be holding ETH versus USDC, but I'm not too sure if that part of the fork would get it as well. I mean, I would think that maybe there would be some sort of copy for that, but even kind of mentioned as far as like the stable coins and stuff like that, he's not too sure. So I mean, your guess is as good as mine. My random guess would just be Ethereum. But yeah, we'll read just like another comment and then go raid Hexo because I don't want to stream over him. Rain Gutierrez says, what would be better, stake $1,000 now or wait for Hex Pulse? Okay. Even they're going to duplicate your Hex. You want more weight. So, I mean, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, either way, if you're holding $1,000 with the Hex now, it's going to be copied onto like a liquid Pulse. So your Hex would be liquid on the Pulse. But I mean, it really just depends on what your time frame is, right? If you're going to take that 1,000 and lock it for a longer time frame, then guess what? Those T-shares that you have are also going to get duplicated on the Pulse network. So I guess that answer would kind of just be dependent on when you're going to end the stake. But without further ado, let me go raid Hexo. I don't want to be streaming for too long. while he's going. So let me just go over to Twitch. He's also on YouTube, but we're going to rate him on Twitch because that's all I can rate him on. So let me start the raid. And then, yeah, go to it's Hex Doctor on YouTube, or we're going to rate him on Twitch now. But we're going to end the stream early. Going to let Hexo do his thing. And I'll see you guys on Tuesday for the Knights of the Crypto Table. So thank you, everyone. I'll catch you next time.